Good morning. My name is Phil Runyon. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, actually since 1985. So I'm living proof that term limits are a good thing. And especially, good morning to all of you. I hope they've reinforced the stage here. There's not only more of you than ever this year, a fact that Ms. Hutchins never fails to keep telling us. But you've surely been one of the most severely challenged classes during a year that frankly is supposed to be sort of an enjoyable victory lap. And this is the Runyon family's 36th graduation, and the fourth one with one of us sitting among the excited graduates. Oh, yeah. So we're pretty excited too. One role of an invocation is to charge up a gathering for its important purpose. So I'm invoking all of us to join in joyful congratulations and enthusiastic hopes for this class of 2021. Before our eyes, this group that started as timid and unsure newcomers has emerged as dynamic and confident young adults who seem ready to run toward any challenge. Right? Okay. And we couldn't be prouder of them. But I'm also invoking all of us not to consider this any sort of finish line, okay? Maybe a timeout, because we've got to keep encouraging their successes, even as they travel farther from us. The world certainly needs them now more than ever. And in the finest Dublin tradition, may they always speak the truth and act with courage. You have our very best wishes. Thank you.
Good morning. Wow, we're here. That's pretty amazing. And thank you, Judge Runyon, for that great invocation and for being a guiding light for me for my first 13 years at Dublin. Really appreciate your time and your wonderful extended family. I welcome our extended families, caregivers and friends, our faculty and staff, the class of 2022 and your sweet Adirondack chairs out there, our board of trustees, our alumni, and especially the wonderful class of 2021. I want to give a shout out to the parents and caregivers of our seniors. You have supported us through good times and challenging times, and we have truly missed having you on campus for the last year and a half. It is deeply moving to see you here this morning. Thank you all you've done to support your students and the Dublin School. I'm going to ask for your help. We have a couple cameras where we're live streaming this, and I want to give a special welcome to the international families and students who cannot be with us here today. We miss you, and I look forward to visiting you all in the near future. Like we did at the Academic Awards the other night, I wonder if we could wave to them through the camera. I don't know which camera's on, but we, back here. All right. Thank you. While it has been a year filled with challenges, obstacles, divisions, opportunities, growth, learning, and accomplishment, I want to start by celebrating the fact that we were able to get to this day with in-person experience with 0 cases of COVID on campus among our students, faculty, and staff. I thank our safety and exceptions committees who received the head of schools William Evans Award on Thursday for going above and beyond the call of duty by creating structures and making the hard calls to balance keeping our campus safe while also creating opportunities like the senior trip, pod meals, and the ceremony to preserve our sense of community and connection. In my weekly Zoom meetings with heads of schools in northern New England this year, it quickly became apparent that our students, faculty, staff, and families were by far the most supportive and cooperative of our safety initiatives than any same groups at other schools. So I thank you families, I thank students, faculty, staff, everyone for making this work. Last fall, I remember vividly watching our teachers walking into their classrooms to teach their students. And I just was thinking all summer, this is my greatest fear as a head of school, to see them taking that risk. Members of our buildings and grounds team entering dormitories to clean bathrooms and common spaces. Our nurses and trainer checking our students' health daily. Our kitchen staff cooking and serving creative meals. Our coaches and art and music directors working closely with our students. And I remember feeling humbled and inspired by their courage. Even after all of our planning, there were still many unknowns. I hope you will join me in thanking our faculty and staff for all they did to keep your students safe while providing the best possible education during a historic pandemic. Thank you, faculty and staff. I want to honor our students for their resilience during an incredibly challenging year with few vacations, campus restrictions, masks, social distancing, and blizzards in April. You are amazing, and I know the growth you experienced and the perseverance you demonstrated this year will give you strength for the rest of your lives. You did it. Well done. Many of us have been thinking about Harper Parnell, a member of the class of 2021 who died last year, as we gather today. As we remember Harper today, I want to invite Harper's father, Scott, to the podium, for he would like to share a few words with this class that means so much to his family. It is wonderful to have Scott, his wife Michelle, their daughter Chloe, and their son Bennett, class of 2024, here with us today.
Thank you all for having me here today and having our family be part of this celebration. He's taller than I am. When I was thinking about what I wanted to say and celebrate this class's achievements and prospects, it was complex. And so I took the day off yesterday and rode my bike from Connecticut up here to kind of clear my mind. I'm not sure it worked, but I listened to a podcast on Elon Musk on the first part of the journey, and it just got me thinking, what an amazing time to get started in this world. We are reimagining everything. Our technology, our culture, our government, and even our world, or should I say worlds. We have interplanetary aspirations. How amazing is that? You guys are starting. And you get to go through all that constructive evolution and revolution and help form that. That's so amazing. And I was explaining this at dinner last night, and my daughter, Chloe, looked at me and said, "Dad, no." You have to start with a joke. And I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "You're a dad, do a dad joke." And that got me thinking, Harper would be absolutely horrified. Like, he'd be like, "No, Dad." No. So, of course, I dove right in. And I'm going to tell my father's favorite dad joke. And it's bad, I warn you. Where does a Martian general keep his armies? In his sleeveys. He would actually do this. It just drove me crazy. And my dad, Harper, would just be like this. Anyway, let me get on with the point. Two things I want this class to move forward with, and you've learned them well here at Dublin. One is lean in. Lean in with courage. Lean into your passions. And it doesn't matter what your passions are. It doesn't matter whether it's flamenco guitar or Southwest Mali culture or whatever. Lean into them. And you'll find yourself in them, and you'll find them in yourself. It's just an amazing thing. Lean in. And on top of that, I would say, lean into your fears. That's where the courage comes in, right? You're not always going to be good at everything. Had I not leaned into my fears, when I was sitting in your chair many, many, many years ago, I was a bad student. I had learning and education challenges. I had family issues. I was incredibly socially awkward, I promise you. Incredibly. And it was through leaning into this that I was able to really grow. And had I not done that, I wouldn't have been able to impact literally millions of lives that I have had the opportunity to do over the years. Lean in with courage into your fears. And lastly, lean in with a group. Find people that share your passions, share your fears. Find novices, find experts, find friends. But lean in. And the journey will be not lonely, but very rewarding and enriching, no matter how good you get. The second thing I'd say is strive for grace, especially now when there's so much tumult in the world. Strive for grace. And a lot of that's done through listening. First, listen to build, not for slight. It is so easy. If you want to find slight, if you want to find offense, you will find it everywhere. But partnership takes listening and mutual understanding. And I encourage you, especially now, to listen to the other side, but look for common forms. The second thing is listen to silence. There are people out there, we're all struggling with something. We're all fighting our demons. We're all working through something. We have hopes and fears that we're afraid to share. And you can share your strength with them by listening to who's being silent and leaning in there as well. I encourage you to do that. In closing, I am so excited for you all. I'm so proud of you. Brad mentioned all the challenges you guys have dealt with. I've seen you grow for the last 4 years, and I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by how you took care of Bennett when he came in. This could have been a tough year. You guys are amazing, and we'll be watching your future and seeing all your growth and celebrating your successes. From the Parnell family, thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and wonderful to have your family here today. This past weekend, Dean of Students Brooks Johnson and 4 other members of our staff took the senior class to Camp Deerwood for 5 days, which is set on a hill with stunning views of Squam Lake and the White Mountains. It's not Lake Placid, but it's kind of nice, isn't it? It was their second chance at a trip, let's just say. Alumni director Erica Rogers and I joined them to help host our annual Welcome to the Dublin Alumni Family Dinner on Monday evening. A tradition of this event involves the students sharing stories from their Dublin experience with one another. I want to share one of the stories as an example. This was my favorite. It came from the camping trips. A senior, when they arrived at their campground on their orientation camping trip, stood up and told a story of this. This was a senior telling a story of their first camping trip, and told a story about one of their classmates who had never been camping and was not about to get into a tent for their first camping experience. So this individual, and I think this has happened a few times, snuck onto one of the minibuses to, you remember this story? Yep. And went to sleep there, and just was having a good night. And but another student happened to get a bloody nose in their tent, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. So one of the teachers said, "Well, we need to go to the hospital." So they got in the minibus and sped off to the hospital. And partway to the hospital, the teacher heard some rustling in the back of the bus and probably assumed it was a bear, slammed on the brakes, and the student came flying down the aisle, and, and all three started screaming. And the student woke up. And once everyone gathered their senses, the shocked student spoke in disbelief. "I didn't know my bedroom was going to move." I believe that student has since discovered the rustic joys of sleeping in tents. This was just one of close to 50 stories shared that night. I think it was, and some of you had more than a couple, as I remember. Julius? Dan? There was only one inappropriate story, I would say. What struck me during that dinner was that a vast majority of your stories were about our camping trips. Would you agree? It seemed like there were quite a few. Camping trips are made of intentionally mixed groups and not self-selected groups of friends. At that dinner, you were sitting with your friend groups, which was very natural. But when you shared stories about the trips, you spoke across the tables and across the room to the people who were on your trips. And I could see you going right back to those magical moments of your 9th, 10th, and 11th grade outings. In a world where our anxieties and fears, our real desire and need for safety, our technology often lead us to surrounding ourselves with people very similar to us, who share our worldview and even our values. Remember that you found joy and connection by being around people you might not normally choose to associate yourself with. Your greatest memories came from going on a trip that, if given the choice to go on or not, you might not have chosen to go. Reflecting on Monday night, I was reminded of an article that I recently read in the Financial Times by Indian author, historian, and activist Arundhati Roy. Roy argues that the pandemic has created a portal, and we must decide how to walk through it. Roy writes, "Whatever it is, coronavirus has made the mighty kneel and brought the world to a halt like nothing else could. Our minds are still racing back and forth, longing for a return to normality, trying to stitch our future to our past and refusing to acknowledge the rupture. But the rupture exists. And in the midst of this terrible despair, it offers us a chance to rethink the doomsday machine we have built for ourselves. Nothing could be worse than a return to normality. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew, just like Scott just said. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. I have heard many people say they want the old Dublin back, the Dublin where we have camping trips, allow mixed groups to eat meals together, a community based on connection. At the same time, your class has challenged our school community and our country to be better and safer, to make Dublin School a leader when it comes to fighting racism, misogyny, prejudice, and homophobia. To honor your spirit, that spirit, We must think carefully about what baggage we want to leave behind and what luggage we want to carry forward through this portal to build a new normal. A better, stronger, more inclusive, safer, inspiring, thoughtful, challenging, and united school culture. And seniors, as you leave here and travel not just through Arundhati Roy's pandemic portal, but also as you pass through this tent and through a portal to your next journey, I hope you will think carefully about what you will leave behind and what you will carry with you. I hope you will pack the lessons of the camping trip. And to borrow Dahlia's favorite word for describing Dublin, willingness. Be willing to seek out mixed groupings of people. Be willing to continue trying new things. Be willing to fight for justice for all people. And be willing to participate in things like camping trips, even when they are purely optional. Your class has endured so much and grown in remarkable ways. Xiao Ying said to me this week that you all arrived as children and leave as young adults with identities and character. We have seen you become curious scholars, woodworkers, authors, comedians, dancers, athletes, activists, poets, friends, even a couple Moxie drinkers, filmmakers, endurance junkies, singer-songwriters, car lovers, actors, artists, roommates, and leaders. You will leave a strong legacy for our younger students to carry and build upon. Last night, we gave you hammers as a symbol of what you have built here and as an encouragement to continue building your own version of camping trips as you pass through the portal of COVID and graduation. It has been an honor serving as your head of school. I am proud of you. I congratulate you, and I wish you all the best as you launch from Dublin. Congratulations. So I think 4 or 5 years ago, I met a student who picked me up at the airport in China. And this student has to catch a taxi to an airport to get back to China in 5 minutes. So we are going to give one diploma to one student and let them get home after a long time in the United States. I'm hoping. Wen Lai Wei. Going in style. That was excellent. Now it's my honor to introduce. First of two student speakers, Lawrence Chen.
Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see a lot of familiar faces here. Those families who helped me through my 4 years here and take me in, on breaks and all that. I'm truly thankful for every one of you guys here. Okay, let me start. Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be standing here representing all my classmates. I have tried to come up with some kind of joke to be the icebreaker, but here I am, but still haven't figured it out. So let us say insert jokes here. Five years ago, this time of year, I was just a typical Chinese kid. As an adult would put it, facing the first big turning point of my life, a high school placement test. Now, 5 years later, who would have thought I would be standing here in front of you, my dearest classmates, who I've become friends with over the last 4 years, to say goodbye and thank you all for being a part of my life. Who would have thought? Life takes you to unexpected places. 5 years ago, I did not know where New Hampshire was. I would have told you I do not like America. If I study abroad was ever a possibility, I would choose England, 100%. No offense, but for me at the time, England was like the original Coca-Cola, and America is more like, cherry Pepsi, if that's the real thing. So obviously I would choose the original one. But anyhow, this corner of southern New Hampshire sky, right next to Mount Monadnock and Dublin Lake, on the slope of Beach Hill, is where I chose to settle for the last 4 years of my life. If anything, this has been the most influential 4 years of my life so far. I feel so at home whenever the bus turns around the corner of Route 101 around the Dublin Lake. The street light would shines and lit up the cemetery at night. How I ended up here was a long story, but in short, life gave me an opportunity out of the blue. At the time, it seemed impossible, but I took it. I insisted on it, and I had the chance to meet all of you guys, which made this the best decision I ever made. This past week on our senior trip at Squam Lake, writing this speech under the dim dawn sunlight that squeezes through the gap of the cabin window, I wanted this speech to be perfect. This is the speech that will conclude and mark the end of our journey together. But I struggled to write even a word. Deep down, I know there are no words I can use. There are no words that fits this occasion. There are no words to describe my feeling. There are no words that can describe my gratitude to every one of you, my friends, my mentor, my inspirations. This feeling of powerlessness overwhelmed me since the start of a senior trip. While processing all those thoughts and memories we shared in the past 4 years, I got to spend more time with you all. Some I wanted to talk to and get to know better in the past 2 years, but failed to do so because of the COVID or a lot of schoolwork. I once again felt this powerlessness overwhelm me because I knew I wanted more time, and there can be never enough. I wanted to talk more, do more, share more with all of you. After 4 sleepless nights and field dips into the ice-cold lake water, countless bug bites, many tearful moments, some truly sincere and vulnerable conversations, I realized there's no perfect way to describe this feeling. And it is about being in the moment and experiencing it. So let us all just stop for a bit and just to feel the air and breeze of this moment. How to trick a Chinese student who doesn't even know what improvisation means into an improv class. Ask Miss Foreman. I let my guard down after getting to know her during my camping trip sophomore year, and she basically described the class as, oh, it's just a bunch of fun games and stuff. I don't know why I agreed to take that class, but I know it was one of the best classes I ever took at Dublin. So the basic rules of improv are like this. First, always say yes. Second, always build upon what's given to you. I remember getting different scenarios and informations that I needed to respond spontaneously. Those amazing yet ridiculous stories we built as a class, and sometimes hilarious, sometimes heartbreaking. It was not until yesterday when I was talking to Ms. Foreman about my speech that I realized this connection. So thank you, Ms. Foreman, again. Life is like an improv session. You're an actor in it. You're given with no script, but spontaneous bits of information and environment that you do not have control over. You can never be alone in it. Everyone around you helped to build your character, your story. All of our previous decisions led us here today, and people around us made us who we are. People who are no longer around also made us who we are. So let's be thankful for everyone in our lives. I did most of my learning here at Dublin not from the heavy textbook or loads of homework, and I'm sure I won't be sad or depressed, with no homework this summer. Sorry, Ms. Namez. I learned so much through trying new things, digging into subjects I love to explore, and I learned the most from everyone that's sitting here today. I would love to name everyone and thank them for helping me grow along the way, but I wish not to turn the lens of this graduation into a tedious academic award ceremony. It is all of you who taught me how to be a good listener, how to be an active member of the community, how to love myself, then to love others, how to realize my privilege and appreciate everything I have. You turned a freshman that was scared and panicked to speak in front of the class into a senior that is confident enough to stand here to represent all of you. We all made mistakes during our times here, for sure. From me running for class representatives from the first day of school with my broken English and no written notes down because I thought it was that cool. To commenting on Mr. Wijmel's nose. Just to clarify, Mr. Wijmel, I didn't write those comments in the teacher evaluation. That was someone else. To science mate massacre. And then Zay lying on the floor, sucking on the little juice box Jackson's give him after he ate a whole Carolina Reaper. Yeah, that was painful to watch, even. And finally, Lake Placid. Did we make mistakes? Yes, we made a lot of them. Should we look back and regret forever? No. I believe we made those decisions at those times of our lives for a reason. And those decisions led us here today. We learn from those mistakes, those decisions, and those lessons will benefit us at some point in our lifetime. 5 years ago, I made a decision that changed my life, and I got to meet all of you as a result. Now I'm standing here to say thank you and farewell. 5 years from now, we'll be on our separate paths, becoming people that we wanted to be. We won't be just sharing this little piece of southern New Hampshire sky anymore, but we will be all over the globe. But please always remember to carry those lessons with you, carry those people with you. No matter where we go, we are there with you because we all shaped and influenced each other's lives during our past 4 years here at Dublin. And our experience here will always be a part of us. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's me, blessing again. And I thought that I would start off with a personal story. So, when I first came to Dublin, I set my bags down at Wing and Hollow and lugged myself up into room number 3, where I saw Morta for the first time. That day, I gathered with my dorm in the cramped, heavily decorated room of Miss Curtis. I sat there with girls who spoke and girls who didn't speak, but everyone seemed excited to see each other, scouting out who to be friends with and who to talk to. I sat next to Sina and Morta, across from Xiaoying and diagonal to Ainsley and Lindsay, as we began hearing about the game Cards Against Humanity. Now here we are. Gross. Though we've been growing, I personally never expected to be 18. If anyone is wondering, by the way, being 18 is so overrated and there's nothing to be that hype about. Anywho, we've all spent time witnessing different and changing relationships with each other. And as a class, we have experienced our proximity ebb and flow together. Sometimes I walk into rooms and I speak to everyone. Sometimes I walk into rooms and I speak to no one. But what does that mean? Am I just gonna use this podium to talk about my list of grievances about all of you? No, I'm not gonna do that. The only similarity we all share is that we're all changing. Sometimes those changes are compatible and we gravitate towards each other. Sometimes they aren't and we drift. I remember my sophomore year, everyone buzzed about missing our freshman year. I mean, how could we? We were happier because we were together and we liked each other. I mean, at least most of us. What we missed the most was the energy, the passion, the what are you doing tonight, the let's all hang out togethers, and the arbitrary and impulsive energy that went along with being independently 14 without our parents. So, while we all yearned for our freshman year, trying to recreate it, and trying to bring back what it felt like, who are we becoming? Under my very nose, I saw my friends transform, and I saw peers and acquaintances become people I could have true, heartfelt conversations and relationships with. I saw Nick and Andrew, rumored to have chased squirrels freshman year, become introspective beings that I could not only stand, but enjoy being around and learning from. I saw Sarah, the fashion queen, change my perspective on myself and how I saw my body. Most importantly, though, I saw my acquaintances become friends and my friendships grow into stronger relationships. But why? They were changing, and I was changing. And we were all just lucky to be compatible with each other. I'm still not sure if I'm the same person who snuck my hand up Miss Rabb's shirt sleeve. I'm not sure if Bob is the same person that played D&D freshman year. Or if Lyle is the same person I asked out 10 times. But of all things, we have had 4 years worth of experiences here. Whether you decided to prioritize your social life or your academic life, everyone was included in the ebb and flow of our class's relationships with each other. During devious Lake Placid adventures, or awfully comfortable midnight lake swims during senior trip, we have all been magnetically pulled together to do things that were exciting and adventurous as long as we had the will and the energy. And that is something I've always loved about our class. I spoke individually about some of you, but what I know is that we might not remember each other 5 or 6 years down the line. I might forget all the little details, like Miss Jackson's dancing during bio class, and Mr. Regional's passion during advanced economic theory. we might forget the water balloons, playing capture the flag, manhunt, and doing all the mischievous things that teenagers do when they've got time on their hands. Though we might not remember each other, we will still live within each other for the rest of our lives. Because the people here are the people who have made us who we are today. And my habits, my speech, my humor, my interests, and my changing passions are living proof that I have met people who have changed me, whether I knew them directly or indirectly. And on a final note for the seniors, it's okay if we have loved and lost here. It's okay if yesterday was the last day we will ever go to the boathouse, and if a week ago was our last smoking cookies. Though the future is very uncertain, what I am sure of is that while we were all waiting for the fervor of freshman year to return to us, we were becoming artists, feminists, activists, better friends, and growing our family. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Oh, hello everybody. Kind of hard to, let me see here. Okay, there we go. Kind of hard to follow those speeches, but I'm going to be playing an original song I wrote this year called Hometown. And while it was originally written about, you can guess, my hometown, a lot of the themes of nostalgia and remembering and the bittersweetness of endings really come through in Dublin. So, yeah, I'll play it for you. This is the house where I grew up, cut from wallpaper and leather books. This is the place where it called my name, singing to the breeze. I thought I'd gone insane, and the old folks still say where we'd gone and where we're gonna lay. So tell me who I am, sing to me, shout if you can. And I just wanna know myself to the core. So please, hometown, tell me more. This is the spot where I first felt awe. Autumn leaves, colored bright, I saw most people laugh at the notion of another world seeping in like the tide from an ocean. This is the street where it spoke to me, reading omens from the white painted walls. Nothing compares to this moment, but now the moment is gone. So tell me who I am, sing to me, shout if you can. and I just wanna know myself to the core. So please, hometown, tell me more. But it's not all what it's supposed to be when knowledge is in memory, segregated without even saying it. People here lock their doors. Our hometown, what did you ignore? So tell me who I am, or sing to me, shout if you can. And I just wanna know myself to the core. So please, hometown, tell me more. Please tell me more. Please tell me more.
Thank you, Lyle. That was beautiful. I first met our graduation speaker while working at the St. Andrew's School in Delaware over 20 years ago. Dr. Nicole Furlong and her husband Nigel joined the faculty there to teach English and history, respectively, and quickly became good friends with Lisa and me. It was clear at that time that Nicole was on her way to becoming a thought leader in independent schools. Dr. Nicole Furlong is a professor and director of the Klingenstein Center, Teachers College, Columbia University. She also serves as narrative medicine core collaborator at Columbia Medical School and is co-founder of LEARNS Collaborative, a catalyzer for human-centered, equitable change in organizations. A first-generation college student, Nicole earned her doctorate and BA in English from the University of Pennsylvania and her MA from the University of Michigan. Prior to joining Teachers College, Nicole served as Director of Teaching and Learning at the Holderness School. We'll let that go. She has taught English and served as English Department Chair and Director of Diversity at several independent schools, including St. Andrew's School, Lawrenceville School, Princeton, and Princeton Day School. Nicole is the author of Race Sounds, The Art of Listening in African American Literature, published by the University of Iowa Press. Her book demonstrates listening as an essential interpretive and civic act that leads to deeper engagement with others. Dr. Furlong's research examines the intersections between listening, cognitive neuroscience, social justice, and school leadership. She lives in Yonkers, New York with her spouse Nigel and their 3 wonderful children. Dr. Furlong, it is an honor to have you here at Dublin to speak with us this morning.
Hello. Hello at home. So first I have to say that it is wonderfully overwhelming to be here on your campus and to sit and just feel the warmth and the connection that this community, that makes this a community. And to also be away from Zoom and the mute button. So thank you. So thank you, Brad, and the Dublin School community for this opportunity to share in this celebratory moment today. To the members of the class of 2021 here and at home, today is all about you, but you do not travel alone. We each carry with us a host of people and histories that embolden us, sometimes burden us, or challenge and support us in essential ways. Some of these people are here with us today, either on campus or via live stream. Others we don't know well at all, and others we've never met or are just histories we don't remember or didn't experience firsthand. Take a moment and consider, who do you carry? who do you come from? During this time we have together, I want to tell you a story, one that is quite important to me, about people and histories that I carry, about who I come from. It is a story that my husband Nigel describes as the most American story he's ever heard. I invite you to listen and hope that you hear some meaning in it for you as well. The story has many beginnings. Today, I'll start on a day in November of 2011 when, with more hesitation than you can imagine, I made a life-altering phone call. A woman answered the phone, and I said, "Hello, my name is Christina Lynn." The woman responded, "We've been waiting for this call for 40 years. Now, you may be wondering why I called myself Christina Lynn. You'll hear why in a little bit. 40 years prior, on February 21st, 1972, I was born about 2.5 hours north of here in Burlington, Vermont. A teenage girl gave birth to me at the Mary Fletcher Hospital and through a place called the Elizabeth Lund Home. She then gave me up for adoption. My birth mother was white. My birth father, also a teenager, was black. Fortunately, just 2 months later, I was adopted by an African-American couple, my parents, and was raised in the Boston area. That was all I knew until when I was a bit older than you are now and a junior in college, I chose to search for my birth parents. Since my adoption was a closed one, all I could legally obtain from the Lund home was non-identifying information. This is information that does not reveal who my birth parents are. The one-page document I received shared that my birth mother was a 10th grade honor student at the time, had what they called fine features, was a cheerleader, and had a twin sister. My birth father is described as an average student, an athlete, someone who loved cars, and having, quote, average features. Ironically, I also learned from this non-identifying document that I was named at birth Christina Lynn. I didn't actively pick up my search again until 3 years later when I started graduate school and moved to Michigan. I connected with a private investigator who helps adoptees and birth parents with searches. She cautioned me that she might not be able to find out much, though the detail about my birth mother having a twin sister would be helpful. Eventually, we did find my birth mother's name, some family names, and contact information, but with one catch. The PI wasn't sure which twin was my birth mother. So she told me I would just have to pick one of the women to write to and hope that I chose the right one. The PI also warned in her instructions to me, writing, quote, "You don't know what kind of people you're contacting, so be careful. You never know how people will react when their ghosts return." I have always been intentional and cautiously paced when it comes to my search, but this time, admittedly, I decided to jump on this lead, take my 50-50 chance, and write to one of the sisters. I signed the letter Christina to avoid sharing my actual name. I had never used that name before, and it seemed so alien to me as I forced my hand to write the signature. Yet when my birth mother, I'll call her Leslie for the rest of this talk, called my number asking for Christina, I responded, "This is she," without hesitation. It turned out, though, that I did choose the wrong sister. The letter I sent went to my birth aunt, Leslie's twin sister, Sophie, not her real name either. She was quite upset about being contacted, and according to Leslie, hearing from me created some discomfort for the family, who never let her forget that she had a, quote, baby with a black boy. As we spoke on the phone, Leslie shared her relationship with my birth father did not last long. She described him with words like cunning and manipulative and kept saying, "You know how those people are." Based on the way she spoke, she seemed unable to imagine the child she gave birth to as someone other than her racial or ethnic identity, as white and Irish. This is curious to me since Leslie also shared that her own parents had decided she would put the baby up for adoption if the baby was too dark. The family relinquished custody immediately after I was born and after Leslie named me. She wasn't sure what happened to my birth father after that, but thought that either he spent time in jail or went away to school for troubled teens. Leslie and I ended our conversation promising to write each other, and we did. The first letter Leslie sent to me was short, but it meant the world to me. It included a picture of her, and I felt like I was seeing pieces of my face in someone else's, something I was not accustomed to as an adoptee. After I became more comfortable with the idea of communicating with my birth mother, as I became more comfortable with the idea of communicating with my birth mother, though, she grew less comfortable with being in touch. In subsequent letters, Leslie insisted she could not meet me and that her children could not know about me. She had just divorced their father, who was emotionally abusive and constantly reminded her of her mistake as a teenager. I understood and honestly felt quite nervous about meeting them anyway. In her fourth and last letter to me, the letter she wrote after receiving my photo, she told me to never contact her again. She said other things that were deeply hurtful, things that made it clear that she still carried the guilt of not only having me, but also of giving birth specifically to a biracial child. She punctuated the request with, quote, "Don't make me regret my choice to give birth to you." I never wrote her again. In that last letter, Leslie did share the most important piece of information not contained in any records available to me: my birth father's name, John W. Brown Jr., and that is his actual name. No matter who he became after his troubled teen years, though, I decided at the time that given my experience with my birth mother, I wouldn't search for him. He did seemingly vanish after I was born, and so in my pain, my fear, and my confusion, I moved on, at least for a time. Instead, I reconnected with the Lund home, my birthplace. I volunteered there, mostly remotely, over the next few years, helping them build a library collection for their high school program for teen mothers. Part of my service involved traveling to Burlington to do archival research on materials dating as far back as 1890, the year Lund was established then as the home for friendless women. On one visit, I took my husband and our children to a Lund fundraiser. It was a fun Alice in Wonderland-themed family event. While there, a reporter approached me to ask how I was connected to Lund. I shared my story, and she took a photograph of me and my then 5-year-old daughter, Logan. I learned a few months later that the photo made the front page of the Burlington Free Press. While attending an event up the road at the Holderness School, a trustee who lived in Vermont had seen the article, and it turned out had a connection with Lund. He offered to see if there was anything he could find out about my birth father. With this serendipitous offer, I decided to do the search. The trustee reached out to me not long afterwards with a solid lead, a last known address of what he believed was my paternal grandparents' home. He also had a lead on John Brown's, but suggested that I not contact him directly. John had quite a few P.O. boxes in his name all over the country. That could be a sign that he wasn't stable, or that he was unsavory. This certainly meshed with what Leslie told me years before. I took the information and filed it away until the day I made that phone call I mentioned at the start of the story. That call was to Vanessa, John's sister-in-law. On that call, she welcomed me with words I'll never forget. "We've been waiting for this call for 40 years. Her tone, a mix of relief and disbelief. She shared that the Browns were migrant farm workers. In the fall, they'd go to Vermont to pick apples, and in the spring, they'd go to Florida to pick oranges. They settled in Vermont permanently in 1967 when John's father was promoted to farm worker manager. They lived on the farm in housing the owners provided, which explained why they didn't appear in any census records that I looked up. John met Leslie at school, and they were friends for several years. They had all hoped I would try to contact them one day. From Vanessa's perspective, John and Leslie really cared about each other. They had plans, unrealistic ones, of staying together and raising me. Unrealistic because neither of them as teenagers had the resources to even support themselves. When John's parents found out, they wanted to adopt me. In contrast, when Leslie's parents found out, they went to the Browns' home, used vile racist language to address them and their son, and told the Browns that if they ever learned they were raising the baby, me, they would have John sent to jail. Remember, this is 1972. The Browns were black farm workers living in rural Vermont. Leslie's parents were middle class and had resources and standing in the town that the Browns didn't. The relationship between John and Leslie was at the time culturally and socially taboo, and they felt trapped. They were afraid of what Leslie's family would do to John, so they did not pursue adoption. During the last month of the pregnancy, Leslie's parents sent her to the Lund home to have me without telling the Browns. Although it was his legal right to do so, John did not have a chance to sign the adoption papers. Leslie told Lund she did not know where he was. Vanessa was furious to hear that I'd been in touch with Leslie because, in a bizarre twist, Vanessa actually works with Sophie, Leslie's twin sister, and my aunts see each other every day. Leslie nor her sister informed the Brown family that we had connected, even though Vanessa often asked whether or not I had. After the call, she immediately called John. I was anxious. What if he didn't call me? What if he did? But he didn't give me much time to worry because he called me right away. I don't remember what I first said to him. It was probably a mumbled mess of things, but I still remember what he asked me. Do you have a good life? And are you healthy? I told him I do, and I am. I asked him about his life after I was born, and he shared with me that he did leave Vermont to join the Marines. He was stationed in various places, and after he left the service, worked on various farms and ranches from California to Ohio to Florida to Texas. And all those P.O. boxes were registered in his name, just in case I was looking for him. He and his family always hoped that I would contact them one day. And not long after those initial phone calls with the Browns, Vanessa called to tell me that she went to the gravesite where my paternal grandparents are buried to let them know that I had been found. I'm still unsure what's more difficult to navigate, though, being the one who is given away or being the one who's missed for so long. About 1 year after that call, my husband and youngest child and I went to Florida to meet my dad and his family. To this day, almost 10 years later, I remain in touch with them. I'll begin to end my story by turning to Brian Stevenson's book, Just Mercy. If you haven't read it or seen the recent movie adaptation of it, check out both. He talks about the importance of getting proximate, of getting closer to the problems we want to solve and to the people we want to help empower. For Stevenson, activism is intimate and world-changing work should be personal. I would extend that thought to say that while we might marvel at change agents like Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, or Mahatma Gandhi, and their resolve to sow seeds against injustice in the world, sometimes the issues we need to get proximate with first or at the same time are personal ones, our own assumptions, perceptions, and fears. For me, in the case of my search, getting proximate meant recognizing that I made certain damaging assumptions in my very own emerging story. I had gotten my birth father's story, his life, his reality, very, very wrong. For me, getting proximate involves sharing this story so I can get closer to getting it right. Admittedly, too, I struggled to feel empathy for Leslie, to try to understand why, after all this time, she would replay the same narrative her parents played, laced with racial and class loathing and distrust. But in my more generous moments, I know that fear of change, of confronting ghosts, and of the other can be hard to fight. And I know that as a young white girl, Leslie was vilified by her family and community in ways that John was not. As you now know, for a time I bought into the narrative Leslie told about John, a story that taps into larger narratives too often perpetuated, particularly about boys of color in this country, that they are up to no good, that they are to be feared and not trusted. I fell prey to that flat, what Chimamanda Adichie calls the single story, at moments because of my own complicated fear. It was truly good fortune, small moments of willingness on my part to imagine there might be more to the story. The willingness to lean in, to be curious, to get proximate, that allowed me to find family and to begin thinking more fully about how the story of race in America is very much a family affair. Last summer, John passed away from COVID-19. He was a generous, caring, and compassionate man. Excuse me. He was a frontline worker, cleaning and doing maintenance work in hospitals and hotels. He lived a hard life, one that found him growing up and living as a Black man in a working-class family in America at a time when opportunities were even more scarce than they are now. In many ways, he lived a life that spoke to the ways in which inequity is historically rooted, uniquely manifested globally and nationally, and structurally impactful in devastating ways. He also found great joy in the partner he married, the children they raised together, and in family and friendships. And when we met, his questions, "Are you healthy? Are you happy?" spoke to what so many of us value and want the freedom and access to fully claim. Perhaps these questions resonate even more with us as we continue to live and love and suffer loss through a health pandemic, climate crisis, and a more widely and deeply acknowledged racial reckoning. Seniors, as you graduate today, in a moment that holds simultaneously so much challenge and so much possibility, please consider this. What would happen if each of you got proximate to a matter you cared about, to an issue that needs your creativity, your innovation, your questions? What would happen if you allowed your mind to be changed? What would happen if each of you chose to work in solidarity with a group of people different from you? As you graduate from this amazing school, my hope is that you find ways to get proximate to key problems that are begging to be solved and resolved and reimagined, that you keep discovering ways to be in effective relationship with other humans, other living beings, and with this planet, that you embrace and understand who you are from and whom you've emerged from, and that you practice listening in ways that allow you to discover just possibilities and joy far beyond your current imaginations. Thank you so much for listening, and congratulations.
Wow, thank you, Nicole. That was beautiful. It's now my honor to present the Paul W. Lehman Award. This award is named after Dublin's founding head of school and is given by the faculty to that member of the graduation class who best exemplifies sturdiness of character, academic vigor, and excellence of influence in all areas of school life. I truly wish that our founders, Paul and Nancy Lehman, could see what Colin Brown has done with his time at Dublin School. I had to get his name out early because when I mentioned that I was giving this award during rehearsal yesterday, they're like, "You mean to Colin?" I know they would be proud to see a student living the values and mission of the school to the extent that Colin has over the last 4 years. Colin arrived at Dublin as a shy and kind ninth grader 4 years ago and leaves us today as a leading scholar in the school, winner of the Ned Whitney Student Athlete Award, a beloved proctor, a friend to all, and a true leader in our community. One recent afternoon, I looked out from my office and saw Colin hanging out in the middle of quad with his trusted Frisbee. Kind of regular sight. Students and faculty joined in for a few throws with Colin, but I also noticed that Colin had a conversation with just about everyone who walked across the quad. I had an image that he was the hub of a large wheel representing our student body, and everything seemed to revolve around him without him even knowing it. In his humble way, Cullen helped us navigate a sometimes very challenging year. He provided human connection and reminded us that decency, curiosity, commitment, respect, and dignity matter in this world. There have been many times when I've written to Cullen to ask for his help with a student or an event, and every time I have received the same two-word response, of course, exclamation point. Cullen, you've made the very most of your Dublin experience. All of us who have been on this journey with you are better people for having been on it with you. We are excited for your future, and we thank you for your sturdiness of character, academic vigor, and excellence of influence in all areas of school life. It is an honor to represent our faculty in presenting you with our highest honor, the Paul W. Lehman Award.
Beautiful. I love that song. Thank you. Class of 2021, class of 2022, families, friends, faculty and staff, trustees, speakers, amazing nurses, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on Abenaki land at the foot of Mount Monadnock to say farewell to this class. I'm gonna try to turn to you, but then the mic doesn't catch it, so just know that, okay. I celebrate you along with this class for all you've given, all the love you've poured into them. When I am called to do something challenging, I remember one thing I know to be true about you, class of 2021. You are resourceful. Call it what you will, strengths, superpowers, you each have something within, something built into your inherent worthiness that will guide you through anything. I believe this wholeheartedly, so this is where I'll begin, acknowledging that you each have within you everything you'll ever need. Writing this speech has been challenging. I'm saying farewell to this amazing senior class, and I'm also saying farewell to Dublin myself. So I'm leaning into my belief about you, seniors, that I too am resourceful. Resourcefulness, a value my family taught, to look within, to learn from all, to be grateful for what we had through various challenges, scarcities, and joys. To look at all of the pieces of what you have and to make something sustaining. As I trust my resourcefulness in writing this, I will dig into one of my superpowers, and to be honest, I didn't realize I had it until after someone else named it. I was standing in front of an auditorium, lost my place. Okay, I was standing in front of an auditorium. I was 22 years old, launching into my education career. The seats were filled. I was finishing a presentation on what I'd learned in my student teaching practicum, and it came time for the panelists to address me. One spoke, then another. You know that feeling, trying to cling to what you hear, but feeling in 1,000 different places? That's what I was feeling, anxious, determined, relieved, uncertain, all at once, maybe a bit like how some of you are feeling today. The final professor to speak had been silent. He said, "The remarkable thing about you as an educator is that nothing surprises you. You see everything is connected. Not in a jaded way, more like, oh, it's all here. There is something to make of this. Everything is connected. It is all here. There's something to make of this." That will be my speech's frame. At points you may wonder, where is this going? Everything is connected. It is all here. There's something to make of this, I hope. Everything is connected. I imagine us in circles. The circle of personal, the circle of community, and the circle of world, all part of all of us. Here we are, each in our own circle, carrying what only we can, our stories, our gifts, our families, our histories, our learning styles, our ways of being. These are deep and expansive, some named, some known, some unknown. Beyond us are the circles with which we interact, our communities. Here, our shared Dublin community that is fortunately a global, multicultural community. The Dublin community can show up 50 strong to a beautiful Diwali celebration, or connect around Lunar New Year, or come together for dance lessons or for a Seder. We share food, stories, the art of our home communities, the voices of our loved ones strong in our own voices. We create our communities. Some of you describe chosen family here, your kin. This middle circle, community, is nourished by all of the intersecting communities we cherish. The largest circle, the world, has been felt by all of us this year. There have been national and global reckonings. People have analyzed. People have ways of processing, advocating, seeking liberation. And I want to take a moment just of feeling, maybe that proximate nature of feeling, as much as we can. Black Lives Matter, Me Too, peoples attempting to decolonize, confrontations with white supremacy, settler colonialism, sexism, heterosexism, transphobia, classism, anti-Semitism, ableism, xenophobia, with people refusing to see each other's dignity. None of these struggles or reckonings are new. Cameron Awkward-Rich's poem called Meditations in an Emergency struck a chord as I thought of all the emergencies that the world has felt, we have felt, the upheavals, trauma, violence, pain carried by each person in a different way. Here's an excerpt of the poem. There's a dream I have in which I love the world. I run from end to end like fingers through her hair. There are no borders, only wind. Like you, I was born. Like you, I was raised in the institution of dreaming, hand on my heart. No matter what circle we're in, let's look at what's on our hearts, our own hearts. Let's practice self-focus. It's hard, it's necessary. Amid the emergencies, amid the worlds we hold within, what have I internalized? What do I need? What can I offer those around me? What can I unearth, replant? Because my hand isn't on my heart just for me. It's for you. It's for us. And that's where all three of our circles, personal, community, and world, come together. If I can actively work to heal what's in my circle, and if I can step into a circle with you, and we can move toward healing together, if we can look at each other and say, you are worthy, can't we change the world? I've had conversations with students, many of you sitting before or beside me now, about how you want to spread learning you've engaged with at Dublin into your next community, larger schools, faraway places, things you've experienced or learned about empathy, justice, advocacy. Yes, I was raised in the institution of dreaming, but I was also told by Philadelphia educator Brother Rob Carter that love is thinking the best of and wanting the best for. And if, like Cornel West says, justice is what love looks like in public, then let's do that. Let's love that kind of love. One at a time, each interaction, every day, no matter where, hands on our hearts. It is all here. There is something to make of this. It is all here. Toni Morrison wrote a novel with a character who wants to be able to fly. His whole life, he's obsessed with flight. There's another character beside him, one he knows deeply, and it's not until the novel's close that he realizes something. Morrison writes, now he knew why he loved her so. Without ever leaving the ground, she could fly. The one thing he always wanted, and she had been beside him the whole time. The people around you know remarkable things, enough to learn from and to deepen your own resourcefulness. This is to you, seniors. You've taught each other how to astral project. You've taught each other how to manifest your greatest wishes, how to bind books, compose a song, how to play ultimate with your whole heart, how to really listen to a record, how to make a record, how to create an iconic band with songs I'm tempted to sing aloud now, but I shall not. I was like, don't sing during your graduation speech. Please don't sing during the graduation speech. You've taught each other how to speak your truth and act with courage, how to build a pen or a table, how to listen, how to really show up. You've taught the community about world building, Dungeons and Dragons, contra dance, basketball, Nordic, music production, mental health, social justice, Nepali-inspired fashion, Greek mythology and fashion, satire, transnational adoption, equity in the insurance business, the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. You've started a nonprofit. You've set the lights and sound for productions that unite us. You've engaged in public speaking, activism, building clubs around diplomacy, around examining whiteness with a racial equity lens. You've taught each other bridge and international relations. You've taught each other about freedom as a constant struggle. You've been leaders of student government, organizations, dorms, teams. You've taught each other in the times that mean the most. When you sat down with someone who looked like they were carrying too much, when you really asked, how are you? When you turned the music up or clanged the piano keys or wrote someone a card or cheered first in a crowded room, when you decided to put down what you thought you needed to be doing and chose to be a friend to someone else under this tent. You've taught me that courage comes from being present. When I've witnessed you lead an unconference or speak in an open meeting, when you've asked restorative questions, when you're standing in the cafe admiring beautiful artwork from your peers, soaking in the stories in pencil lines and glitter, when I've witnessed you simply be together, when you've zoomed from overseas, being present against all odds, when you're winning your lacrosse game and it's the final 2 minutes, and as a team you need to keep the ball in the box, you're utterly present in this intensity, this togetherness. You've taught me that joy is a risk, but it's worth it. When I witness you join your friend on stage because 2 guitars to Howie Day's 2003 classic is what it deserves. It's true. When I witness you belt Killing Me Softly, bravely, beautifully. When I hear you perform James Taylor or Lizzie McAlpine or George Michael or an original song. When I see you dancing to a ski-masked singer, chanting along, or laughing to stand-up comedy. When you go all in to a 90s themed event or roller skating party, you dress up for Character Mystery Day and refuse to come out of character. when we tried to have a snowball experience, not as much fun as a snowball fight, but worth it. The joy is worth it. You've taught me that kindness is hard work and kindness is simple. It can be sitting on the stairs outside the recital hall with a warm hello every morning. It can be getting a game going on the quad when you know that folks need to feel part of something. It can be a hand of support when you, me, afraid of heights, are clinging to a cable in the Gothics in the Adirondacks, afraid to move on camping trips. That hand of support doesn't change the situation, but it's kindness that makes it more bearable. It's kindness when you're tired or angry or demoralized or scared. It's deciding to be kind and extend that hello or that hand. You've taught me that how we love today will echo into tomorrow. If we treat each other with dignity and love, that extends beyond us, far beyond whatever circle we're in. You can look at the field where you cheered around your goalie, praising them after winning the game, and that field will be shades greener, brighter for the next player. You can look at the circle of chairs in the Fab where our class has just finished reading our farewell letters, and we can shuffle those away, but there's something loving that lingers in the subtext, becoming part of the next letter. You can mentor a younger student, teach them how to shrink the gap between who we are and who we're trying to be, and that student will lead in love long after. You can say, I'm glad you're here, and here itself will expand its scope. Seniors, you've brought your inner worlds here to make this community. You've danced between the worlds beyond and the worlds within, and the stuff between, that was the stuff. From 9th grade program at the Yurt with me and Miss Rab, could make a second joke about singing here, singing to you on a sunny day 4 years ago to here. In between, you've let your inner world join each other's inner world, and you've stepped out and between the circles, self, community, and world in a way that has enriched every single one of us. Adrienne Marie Brown writes that we should move at the speed of trust. A proverb, likely from Burkina Faso, goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Everything is connected because we are connected, and you have been a class to model that. You've been a class moving at the speed of trust, going together, moving toward, a class realizing your resourcefulness, your superpowers are in being together. There's something to make of this. We don't always know how exactly, but we try. This doesn't mean that things make sense. It hasn't always made sense. It won't always make sense, but it means that we make something. Nothing has been perfect. Things have been difficult, more difficult than these words could do justice. And you sit here with all of it. You've created something anyway. I've been thinking about how the act of creating or building is a mixture of things. Part working, part not knowing, really you don't have to know, part hoping. Of these, I think the greatest principles that every creator carries is hope. There's something more that will come than the thing we create itself. Oscar Eustis, Hamilton's creative director, said something once. He looked up with piercing eyes that had known immense personal tragedy the year after he lost his son, and he said, "Hope is a moral imperative." I have seen you seniors make from what you take with you hope. I've seen you support each other through grief. I've seen you educate each other. I've seen you build a tiny house. I've seen you create jewelry. I've seen you sing the wishing tree with all your love for your friends. I've seen you build the original wishing tree. I've seen you read a remarkable poem. I've seen you dance joyfully. I've seen you stand up for each other, with each other. I've seen you create a film about all the uncertainty that comes from human to human connection. I've seen you create bonds with the people beside you that have opened your sense of vulnerability, expanded your perspective, and shown you how loved you are. There is something to make from all of this. Part hope and what else is not mine to say. It's yours. Michael Cunningham writes, "There's just this for consolation. An hour here or there when our lives seem, against all odds and expectations, to burst open and give us everything we ever imagined, though everyone but the children, and perhaps even they, know these hours will inevitably be followed by others, far darker and more difficult. Still, we cherish the city, the morning. We hope, more than anything, for more. Dublin, I wish for you more of what you cherish to lead you, more of what connects you to ground you, and more of your resourcefulness to steady you in the hours ahead. I wish for you what we saw at the end of Coffee House last week, the crowd dancing, some crying, as the 9th and 10th graders closed the show, playing their hearts out. I didn't speak with you about this, seniors, but I will now. That was a moment of complete joy, togetherness, and honestly, it was a moment of complete hope for what is next. As you, the seniors, cleared the stage, this younger group set up, exploded dazzling music into the night. It was a moment of knowing. What's next will be bright, it will be beautiful, and we won't be here for it. But we were part of it, both in letting it in and letting it go. It was a moment to me that said, yes, it's time now. It's time to go. There's no right words to say farewell. There's just this for now. You have everything you need right here. Without ever leaving the ground, she could fly. Move at the speed of trust. You don't have to know. Hope is a moral imperative. Justice is what love looks like in public. I'm glad you're here. Courage comes from being present. Music floating into the night. Love as an echo. What's next will be bright. It will be beautiful. Hands on our hearts. Still, we cherish this little sliver of earth nestled against the mountains. We cherish this morning together. We hope more than anything for more. Class of 2021, it has been a complete honor to be a part of your life and to stand with you today. I love you all. Congratulations. Thank you.
Too many things I haven't done yet. There's too many sunsets I haven't seen. Can't waste the day wishing it'd slow down. You would have thought by now I'd have learned something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Made up my mind when I was a young girl. I've been given this one word. I won't worry it away, no. And now and again I lose sight of the good life. I get stuck in a low light. Then love comes in. How far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, many the miles. Oh, 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 how far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, ooh, send me the miles, and I'll be happy to. Many the miles, ooh, but send me the miles, and I'll be happy too, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Red letter day, I'm in a blue mood, wishing that blue would just carry me away. I've been talking to God, don't know if it's helping or not, but surely something has got to give, 'cause I can't keep waiting to live. How far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, many the miles. Oh, 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 how far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, ooh, but send me the miles. How far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, many the miles. Oh yeah, I have to go, many the miles, many the miles. I've been talking to God, don't know if it's happened or not. Many the miles, many the miles. How far do I have to go to get to you? Many the miles, ooh, send me the miles, and I'll be happy to follow you, love. There's too many things I haven't done yet. There's too many sunsets I haven't seen.
Wow. Did anyone else not want that song to end? Just feel like we're holding on to this precious moment with you and your families, and that was beautiful. Are we ready? So now I'm going to present the class of 2021 with their diplomas. You'll notice I will pause with some of our international students because on our live stream, we're going to project their photo, and you can look at the recording, which will probably be up in a few days if you want to see their faces. Here we go. Blessing, Aina, Akimadi. Sana Anand. William Quinn Armstrong. Kusum Arial. Good pose. Timothy June Shien Bernard. Emily Victoria Blyberg. Bryn Balampali. Jamie Eric Bostrup. Colin William Brown. Nicholas Caesar Kim. Julius Asher Camper. Zuyuan Chen. Isra Tronktavitam. Xavion Lionel Clairvaux. Owen Patrick Conway. Hey. Andrew Smith Daly. Matthew James Deutsch. Jackson Carter Elias. Abigail Hennessy Fauner. Lindsay Brown Gould. Eric Gu. Liam Taylor Harrison. Lyle Brandhorse Hutchins. Morta Yonkoskaite. Chen Ji. Sarah Jane Lavoie. Daniel Henry Lezak. Guhao Liu. Amelie Ann Logue. Cyan Quinlan Mighty. Erin Grace Micklejohn. Iselina Yin Miller. Oh, my fault. And we practiced. Aaron Morrison. Ainsley Michelle Morrison. William Dennison Orr Jr. Robert Hunter Paltrineri. Zhozhen Pan. Cami Purdy. Xiaoying Xu. Dahlia Schulman Riddington. Nora Elizabeth Rogers. Elizabeth Street Runyon. Adam Jenkins Siswerda. Megan Elizabeth Spindler. Josephine Eleanor Switzer. Lila Grace White. It is my honor to present the class of 2021. Congratulations.